you know how you wake up in the middle of the night, you're like, you get your little, like, you get that scary ambiance, and you're like, oh, it's nothing, it's just me being scared. That's what we thought at first. But when other people started hearing the same things too, that's when we're like, yeah, it's not just a us thing. Like, this is actually happening.
Whether you believe in ghosts or not, many of the figures discussed in this documentary were once living people. These people were loved and appreciated, and now they forever live on through St. Olaf's legends. Some of these stories may be dark and twisted, some may be lighthearted or fun. None of them are meant to misrepresent any of the people they are based on, and none of them are meant to show disrespect. Even the darkest story may serve as a reminder of past struggles and shared trauma, and in telling them, we aspire to acknowledge our past and those that came before us. We here at the Olaf Messenger recognize the seriousness of mental illness, suicide, and death. We do not mean to trivialize these issues, and we do not mean to sensationalize the deaths discussed in this documentary. Ghost stories are often intended to scare the listener, but we believe they are a way of connecting with our legacy and remembering those that have passed. While some of them may be spooky, we want to take a moment to acknowledge that these stories are based on real people. These people were loved and continue to be remembered through these stories.
We began our quest for the truth by asking students if they've ever been haunted.
Do you have any reports of ghosts, supernatural activity, hauntings, anything of that nature?
Sadly, no, I do not.
No.
No. I have not, unfortunately.
No? I have not, but I've heard stories of it.
No.
I have not, no.
I don't think so.
No.
Personally, I don't have any experience with any ghosts.
No, but I wish I had.
It seemed our quest was pointless until...
Have you guys ever been haunted in Thorson?
Yes, actually.
Our door opens.
Our door opens
all the time. Like,
in the middle of the
we'll
night.
wake up at 2 a.m. and our door's open.
Yeah, like 2 a.m. and the door's like wide open, and we're like, we didn't leave it open.
It seemed that St. Olaf was indeed haunted.
Because there's this like long or like tall entity that like stands by my bed.
Once we put the word out, it seemed ghosts were coming out of the woodwork.
So last fall in Thorson, I got back to my room at like 2 or 3 in the morning one night. I don't remember what I was doing, but like I heard what I thought was my roommate in their bed, like rolling over and murmuring, and I was like, oh shit, I woke them up. And like I was trying to fall asleep, and there were like clearly very audible like fidgeting with sheet kind of noises, and I looked over and I thought I just saw them lying there sleeping. And then I got woken up at 6 o'clock in the morning by my roommate trying to get into my room because they had spent the night with their partner and left the key in my room. And so I pretty quickly wondered what on earth was in their bed.
I was lying on my stomach on my bed one night, binging Friends on Netflix, and my feet were up and kind of crossed behind me. And all of a sudden, one of my throw pillows that was behind me on my bed, just like out of nowhere, catapulted itself across the room, landed on the floor, like all the way across the room. Like it wasn't just like a flop, like, oops, maybe I kicked it off the bed on accident. Like it like projectiled through the room, simultaneously knocking over my lamp that was like on my bedside table. So all of a sudden, like I'm freaking out because all of this just like happened and I had no idea how to respond. So I just sat on my bed and breathed and thought to myself, like, whoever or whatever is in this room, like, I do not wish you any harm. I'm just gonna sit here and keep breathing.
Early in the morning one day, my roommate had a coffee maker with a coffee pot on top of our fridge, and I think it was in the early morning, the pot just went flying across the room and shattered on the floor. And like, it was precarious on the fridge, but like the shards went everywhere. Like there was no way that like if it had just fallen, there's no way the shards could have gotten that far.
We would be going to sleep and we would start hearing knocking on our closet doors. Not on the main door, but we like distinctly would hear it on our closet doors. Or we would hear slamming like on our door, like a thud on the closet doors. And you know, we'd like obviously like we were like, okay, it's the air circulation. It's just like the air hitting the door when you have the windows open. We would close the windows and we would make sure nothing would happen. And for like the first like 2-3 weeks, we would hear like every other night, like all the time, and it became super consistent. And at first we got like pretty frightened. We're like, oh man, or like we'll like get up, but like I remember like, and it wasn't just me and my roommate that heard it either too, because there was like one occasion where it was me, my roommate, and one of my friends in the room. We're all sitting down watching TV. None of us are by the closet door, and we hear the thudding super hard, like really hard, aggressively. And all of us just looked at each other and were like, well, none of us did that.
I already kind of felt like there was some kind of unknown presence in my room. This had started earlier on in the year. I would open my closet to, you know, grab some clothes out of my dresser. And sometimes I would just stop and listen because I could often hear this faint noise that almost sounded like breathing, like it was very methodic. It didn't seem random. It didn't seem like a sound I had recognized before, like if it was the AC or the heat. It just sounded really creepy to me. And so that's why I think my mind jumped to ghost when this second experience happened. Yeah, so that was that.
Because we have a couch in our room, so we'll be sitting on the couch in our room, and then something will fall from my desk, but like there's nothing like on the edge or anything. Like we'll just see like like something fall from my desk or hear a thud on my desk, but it didn't really escalate anywhere like past that, like the thudding or the thudding of the closet doors. Or we would hear the doorknobs twist on the closet doors. Like I've literally no incentive like not to tell you the truth. It'll be really late at night. I remember like the latest it's ever happened was like 2-3 in the morning. Like me and my roommate are trying to go to sleep, and then we hear someone opening our closet doors, and we know it's our closet doors because there's a distinct sound from our closet doors compared to the actual big doors, because the Thorson main doors are way bigger than the closet doors. And we'll just hear someone opening the knob and stopping, but it was inside of our room. And we just got up and we're like, yeah, we're not gonna go to sleep. We turned the lights on and we just started like, you know, playing video games, trying to like wait it out. But we haven't heard it for like a really long time, but it used to be like almost every day we would hear this.
Like my roommate like told me that I screamed in my sleep once. Like and like I don't usually like when I'm at home I don't do that. I don't think I've done that here. Like I've like being told that I was like, what?
Yeah, no, that's actually something that's like pretty commonly reported happening in Thorson, is people will wake up screaming and then the next morning will have no recollection of it whatsoever.
Yeah, it was scary. It was like we were genuinely scared, but at the end of it, we just came to terms with it. It would be like we'd openly like speak. Like we're not even my roommate and I like aren't even. I'm not like that religious, or I don't know, or that paranormal. So like, but like just out of precaution, that's how scared we were. Like we don't want any harm. You know, we're just trying to live our life, do your thing. And I mean, it did. Like we don't hear anything anymore. But yeah, it was pretty scary.
Now that we knew St. Olaf was haunted, we began to search for proof. We combed through old Manitou Messenger archives and found a number of alarming stories. One name that kept popping up was Greg Neeser, the old vice president for student life, who is rumored to have kept a ghost file. When we reached out to Mr. Neeser, we got an ominous and unhelpful response. It seemed all was lost until we went to the St. Olaf archives. It was there that we found a ghost file. We found a number of helpful documents in the archives, including a story detailing the time Carol Lowell, a ghostbuster, came to St. Olaf in 2005. The article detailed Carol's entire visit to St. Olaf, and a friend of ours was happy to reenact it. Turns out, Melby is haunted.
There's not someone in here now, but I can feel a woman's energy. She comes down here and waits to say hi to people, and then she leaves when she wants some privacy.
Rolvog Library, haunted.
Is the camera on?
Yeah.
You might be able to get him on film. He might be a sophomore or a junior. He's got reddish brown hair. He died recently, but I don't know from what. He's sweating. He looks like he was sick. He just seems like he's your guys' age. Poor thing. I don't know if he overdosed or what, but he just doesn't have anywhere else to go. That's why he's here. He's calming down because I'm touching his aura. The healing energy is transferring to him. I don't know where he died. Could have been home, a hospital. But he's stuck here. Poor thing. Will you help him move over? He's turning to me. He's asking if I can help him. Yes. Yes, I can help you.
And Thorson, super haunted.
I see a well-dressed man in his 40s with a suit and a bowler hat. I don't think he realizes this is a ladies' fair. I don't think he goes here. Maybe there's a girl he's courting or... He got scared by us, he just went out the window.
After we explored Carol's visit in 2005, we were able to get in touch with Carol in the present day, who kindly let us interview her and shared her experiences and some tips.
My goal is to help the ghost cross over. Having a ghost cross over is extremely important. It's extremely important for the ghost, and it's extremely important for the people in the house. And I mean, if you think about it, a ghost is a brother, sister, friend. A ghost, I mean, people will say entity or demon or there are just a lot of other different words that people will use for a ghost. But really, all of those is a dead person. It's a person who's died that has not crossed over into the light.
We had done our research. Now it was time for us to run around with a ghost meter and try to catch some ghosts on camera. Naturally, we went to Steensland, one of the creepiest buildings on campus.
Why is there a light on that table? How is it getting there? There's what? Oh my god, don't you... Oh god. Okay, which way do you guys want to go first?
Out of here?
Left or right?
Let's go left.
One of the reasons why ghosts become irritated and tough is because people treat them like they're they're stupid, or like they're an animal, something less. So like when some of those people on TV and they're in the dark and they're going to find a ghost, first of all, they can't see the ghost. They can't even actually talk to the ghost unless they've usually got their equipment. And then, or they'll like do obnoxious stuff.
Whoops. Sorry, Carol.
Tragically, we didn't see any ghosts, but it did creep us out. After Steensland didn't pan out, we decided to follow the research, which led us to Hillbow.
This is easily one of the scariest stories on campus, and also the one we were able to find the least information on. These stories stem from Manitou Messenger articles that were published in the 1990s. We haven't been able to find any death records corroborating them, and we haven't been able to find any older articles detailing these accounts. That being said, they are corroborated by one another, and so even if they aren't true, they are part of campus lore. As the legend goes, in the 1960s, a sophomore girl was assigned to live on the 3rd floor of Hillbow in a small single. She was an outgoing gal with many friends on the soccer team, but as the semester progressed, she became sullen and antisocial. She was reportedly seen carrying a candle and sobbing throughout the hallways at night. As the semester progressed, she became even more withdrawn, and late in the semester, several students raised concerns to Residence Life after several days had passed without seeing her. Tragically, when Residence Life opened the room, they found her body. Her soul had departed her body, but perhaps it remained in the room. A different article suggests that the girl lived in the late 70s and was bereaved at the death of her mother. She exhibited symptoms of depression and eventually took her own life. During the next couple of months, her roommate claimed to hear the voice of the late girl. Did this girl have a single or a double? Did she die in the 60s or the 70s? The story we found that claims she had a single continues. 5 years after her death, it was decided the room would be opened again. Once again, a happy girl entered the single, and within a matter of weeks, her mood shifted drastically. She would lock herself in a room for days at a time, and then would walk the halls weeping. Luckily, she survived first semester, and when she returned for second semester, she seemed to be in better spirits. By mid-March, her depression had returned. She stopped going to class, stopped being able to concentrate, and cut off all her friends. After spring break, it was announced that she had killed herself at home. The room was closed off again, and Residence Life vowed it would never house another student. Why did this happen to these young women? Carol Lowell offered a potential explanation.
It's rare that a ghost would drive somebody to do that. Somebody who would already have a natural small amount of depression, and then the ghost has depression, they both will amplify it for each other. So say the girl who was alive, her depression was maybe on a scale of 1 to 10, maybe it was, like a 4. If she keeps having that ghost walk through her, then it can make her depression like a 7 or an 8. But the ghost is not going to get her to kill herself.
After a few more years of sitting vacant, it was decided the room should be put to use. The college decided to make it into a computer lab. Students were wary of the room at first, but eventually began to use it. Late one night, one of the printers started freaking out, printing out nearly 100 pages of text. The printer had printed off the diary of the first girl that had killed herself. She described voices in the room telling her to abandon all contact with people, prowl the corridors of the hall, and ultimately, to take her own life. Needless to say, the room was shut down once again, and was reportedly converted into the office of the Hillbow Hall director. Rumors have also circulated it was converted into the Hillbow Chapel. This story is muddled by inconsistencies. Did the first girl die in the 60s or the 70s? Did she live alone or in a single? What happened to the room?
I felt like just living in Thorson kind of provoked hauntings in a sense. Like, it's a very old building, lots of interesting history for sure.
Carl and I had already read about the ghost stories too, even we knew about this going into it. So, but I can definitely tell you that the experiences we had were not they did not seem fake. It wasn't like we were trying to satisfy the history of ghost stories in Thorson.
Perhaps one of the most infamous ghosts on campus, it's well known the Red Hat Boy hangs around Thorson. But why? Who was he? Why did he die? Why has he stayed? Thomas E. Johnson was born in 1965 and attended St. Olaf until his death in 1987. He was 21 years old at the time, the same age as many of us. He was a member of the hockey team and an English education major. From what we were able to gather, Tom and a group of boys were down in some old caves on Halloween night. Some may have considered the spot perfect for a night of spooky fun. We now know it was a dangerous death trap, ready to swallow Tom whole. The caves were first dug in 1885 for the purpose of storing beer for a brewery. Despite St. Olaf's status as a dry campus, students often snuck down to the brewery to drink alcohol, often by using ropes to lower themselves down the air vents of the caves. Tragically, Prohibition ruined their fun, and alcohol hasn't been consumed by students ever since. After changing hands a few times, the caves were finally sold to St. Olaf in 1957. The buildings of the brewery were burned down, but the caves were left open for storage until they were eventually sealed by the college in 1978. The caves weren't filled in, simply sealed, allowing students to still sneak in. The efforts to keep students out likely led to the cave-in that killed Tom. The caves didn't create a dangerous situation, but the attempts to seal them did. Years later, as Vice President for Student Life, Greg Kneeser was compiling his ghost file, it was discovered that Tom was known to have favored a red hat. In the decades since his death, it is not uncommon for students to spot a boy in a red hat hanging around Thorson. It's said that Tom likes the song Die or Maker by Led Zeppelin. Students have seen him wearing a Walkman and have also reported that he likes to play cards. We found some guys that were able to corroborate the rumors.
So I have had a couple encounters with the Red Hat Kid. And it's usually kind of out of the corner of your eye deal, right? But there was one time I remember specifically, I was in the common room working on an essay for a poli-sci class at like 2 a.m. on like a Thursday night or something like that. And I had just been sitting in there totally alone for forever. Nobody's playing pool, nobody's in there. And I looked up and there was just this kid in a red hat sitting on one of the couches. And I didn't notice him, never saw his face. Didn't try to talk to him because I'm like, it's 2 a.m. and it's like, just trying to get this done and go to bed. But that was like the biggest interaction I had with him. I assumed it's to him. I guess no interaction with them. Like I didn't see their face. So that was kind of my like one big interaction with the Red Hat Kid. But I think Jim has a couple too. No?
Yeah, I don't know. When I saw the email, I was trying to think, because there was definitely one distinct time that I can remember where, so the way our room was set up, we had like these 2 couches, and then next to the 2 couches were like both our beds were lofted, and so they sort of like looked down on our desks and couches. And I was like laying in bed one night, I think both of us might have been or something, and I was like sort of half falling asleep. I was getting towards drifting off, and like looked down and also saw this like kid, some just kind of nondescript like child thing.
Guy, yeah.
It wasn't like, it was one of these things where it was like weird and super, not expected, but also you weren't like shocked or like terrified. It just sort of like happened, and then you sort of like, oh wait, what was that? And you look away, and then you look back, and it's gone.
Yeah. It doesn't seem Tom is a volatile ghost. He probably just doesn't know where else to go. If you ever see him hanging around Thorson, know that he isn't there to scare you. He was a young man that lost his friends, lost his future, and lost his life. We hope that by staying at St. Olaf, by staying close to the school he loved and the students that he might have known, we hope that he has found some happiness. We hope he knows he was loved during his time here, and that he is remembered to this day.
I didn't see her, but I felt her. And so we were all, okay, don't look like that, it's real.
So we were all heading up to the stage, right? Because we were getting ready for an exercise. And I was finishing writing something up in my notebook. I was the only one left. And I put my stuff down, got up into the aisle, and I felt a cold burst go through me. And I was like, oh my God, that was weird. And I kept walking forward, and I could feel it with my hand. And it went all the way up, across, and to the back. Yeah. So it wasn't just like
it was like a draft.
No. Drafts don't change directions and go through doors. Like, switch around the corner. A draft wouldn't do that. It would hit the wall and stay there.
If there ever was a perfect St. Olaf ghost, it's Mrs. Kelsey, the theater director that the Kelsey Theater is named after. She passed away in California in 1953 while touring theater programs on the West Coast. But it seems that she has returned to look over St. Olaf students once again.
Okay, so Kelsey's not a bad ghost. She's actually a really, really helpful ghost. Because like, the theater lore goes that Kelsey, she used to be very, very involved with the theater students. She would bake them cookies, and she would always take care of them. She would help fund things, but then when she died, all of the students started noticing little things that would like help them out. Like if they were in the theater building too late, the lights would flicker or stuff like that, you know? Like she's a very helpful
That doesn't
girl.
sound helpful.
No, but then she was telling him like, go to bed. You're gonna be tired tomorrow. Go, shoo, get out of my building.
This is a boring ghost.
No, it's not. Okay. What's a really good story? Okay, do you guys know the
Did she ever kill anybody?
No, she didn't. She saved somebody. She did save somebody from actually dying. Do you know the pit in Kelsey Theater?
No.
The orchestra pit.
I've literally never been to this building.
Can
we check it out?
Yes. This is the pit. You're standing on it.
Oh. What,
okay.
How did someone...
So this pit is
something
hydraulic. Listen, this pit is hydraulic, right? I work in the shop. It can come up to the top and meet the stage, but it can also go down to the basement, 30 feet, to big props. So when the pit's down, most of the time there's a rope, right? To protect people, it says, warning, the pit is down. And one day, an actor was staying late, trying to remember his lines. And there was one line where he gets pushed back. And he just couldn't get it right, couldn't get the feeling right, kept forgetting the actual words. And he just keeps getting pushed back, and he just is trying to remember, and he feels a tap on his shoulder and a whisper in his ear saying, be careful. And he looks and his foot is at the edge of the pit, and the pit is in the basement.
If you ever forget your lines, don't worry. Miss Kelsey is still watching over us and will be happy to lend a helping hand.
While we didn't capture a ghost on camera, we were able to uncover some of St. Olaf's past, and we got to explore college lore. So maybe next time you see a flash of red in Thorson, or hear a piano playing in the theater, you should think twice. And remember, if you do see a ghost, be sure to capture it on camera.